Everybody, welcome to the Town of Hilton Head Island Gullah Geechee Land and Cultural Preservation Task Force meeting. I'm going to go ahead and officially call this meeting to order. This is September the 11th, 23. Karen, are we in compliance with FOIA?
Yes, sir, we are.
Before I go into the roll call, I would like to take a couple of minutes or a moment to remember those who sacrificed and served on 9/11. So if you would join me in a moment of silence. Thank you so much. Certainly in remembrance of those who lost their lives and those who fought so hard to try to save lives. And what I've seen in some of the news, we're still suffering from some of the health effects and emotional trauma of that. But we know that as a country, we're strong and we will continue to come together and trying to do the working we do here locally as one country, God, right? Karen, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Simmons?
Here.
Mr. Abdul Malik?
Here.
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Hens?
Here.
Stevens?
Here.
And I have not heard from Ms. Wright or Ms. Green.
Okay, I do know Ms. Wright had a death in the family, so I'm
Okay.
sure she will not be joining us.
Thank you.
Or from Ms. Green either. Do we have a quorum? I think we do. Okay, we do have an agenda that's been set before us, and at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Malik has made the motion. Second by Mr. Hens. So all those in favor, right hand. That carries unanimously. We have the minutes from our August 7th meeting, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the August 7th meeting if there are no revisions or questions. Hence is moved. Second. Mr. Simmons has second. All those in favor, just by show of hands. Thank you. That carries. Minutes have been approved. Do we have any appearance by citizens?
No, sir.
All right, moving right along, we'll get right into the staff report. Have general staff updates, work plan update, and a district planning and LMO update. Richard Edwards.
Thank you, Chairman and board members. As you all are aware, Ms. Krishana has left us. She had other business she was tending to, and we thank her for her service. So I wanted to mention that to you all. So moving forward, Nick Tay and I will be helping you all out here with most of your administrative stuff. And then we have two of our planners, Trey and Alexis, that'll be helping us with our design review studios.
Okay, great.
Moving forward, those will be your contacts for those items.
Thank you so much and welcome, and we certainly acknowledge the work that Krishana did here, and that was a big loss to us. So wish her well in the next endeavor, but welcome to you and thank you for stepping up.
Sorry. On the work plan update, the update we have for you right now, the cultural education program. Right now, our staff is working together with the communications department to transition the filming over to them. So we'll be working on that to get a final timeline finalized and get the filming started. We're still happy to answer any questions you may have on that while we're working with the communication team. And then on the district planning update, currently.
Before you go there, so do you know how much work has been done on that education program? We're just down to the portion we just need to videos. Is that what I understand?
Yes, sir. My understanding now is Krishana was able to get us the different scripts, get a timeline. Right now, it's just, I think, coming down to working with the videographer to get that schedule finalized and start filming.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that matter before we move on? All right, so district planning update, the marshes. Staff is currently working with our consultant to get postcards to go out via mail for public comment. So the postcard should have a little code or address on it so people can go onto the website and fill out an online survey. And we'll eventually be getting to an in-person public meeting for the marshes as well. But more to come on that once we get everything finalized. And currently the plan, the most up-to-date plan is on the website under major initiatives, master plan and district planning. So if any of you all or any citizen wants to go on the website and start reviewing what is there now, you're welcome to do so. And then in the district, we have Bridge to Beach. Staff will be presenting an update on this plan at the PPC meeting on September 14th, this Thursday. And there are no historic neighborhoods in this district, but we still encourage everyone to go in and review it and provide us comments. And this month, staff will begin looking at Forest Beach and Skull Creek districts. And Skull Creek has quite a few historic neighborhoods, so we'll be reaching out for input from you all and citizens coming up soon on those projects. All right, do you have any questions on the district planning?
I do, if I may.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
please.
I think we had proposed a question last month, you had already left, as to when the districting plans would be finalized as a time frame. Are you able to tell us that?
Yes, so I don't think we have a distinct timeline right now for that. We're still working with the town manager and town staff and our consultant to get that all finalized, but we're looking to have that done relatively soon so we know going forward. As of right now, we're moving forward with Bridge to Beach to Public Planning Commission. And then in the next 2 months, we look to definitely have Forest Beach and Skull Creek at Public Planning Commission.
Yeah. If I may, the reason behind my question is, I know that there are changes that are being made right now into the LMOs. And the thought was that some of those changes should have been kind of sort of put on hold until the redistricting was done. My concern is that the new management ordinance will go into place before the districtings are done. And then when it's time for us to go and look at the majority of the neighborhood districts, we have a lot of LMO amendments that we now have to kind of like wade through or filter through.
Okay, and to jump ahead a little bit, staff has decided to re-advertise phase 5, which is the full code rewrite. So we're redrafting the RFQ now, and we're not anticipating to even select a consultant until the end of the year on phase 5. So the code rewrite has been pushed back.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, and then the LMO update, phase 4A, which is the FAR and parking. This did get pushed back to PPC and it'll be on the PPC agenda for this Thursday. And staff is doing further analysis on the request to examine any unintended consequences, including more research on exactly what these regulations would do to historic neighborhoods. Once that research is done, we look to present that at PPC this week. And we're happy to give you guys any communication that we have on that to PPC. We'll provide that to you after the PPC meeting.
Yeah, sure.
I thought y'all could present something today about the parking.
No, we've been requested to relook at it. So we're relooking at all that and getting a better analysis together before we move it to PPC. And then we'll get you all something as soon as that research is done, and it'll be publicly advertised at PPC as well. So we'll get it to you as soon as we can.
This is an issue that would go before the planning commission. We're already past that point.
I think right now it's at PPC, and that's what has been rendered back down to. And if it does change, any recommended does change, my understanding is it would have to go back to planning commission if any of the recommendations do change.
But we still have an opportunity for some input.
Yes, sir. And you also are all welcome to come to the PPC meeting and have public comment there as well. But I know two of you are on the planning commission. So I think if there are any changes that PPC makes from what's presented, then my understanding is it would have to come back to planning commission. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And then phase 4 is currently in legal review, and staff is anticipating this phase going to Planning Commission in November. That one right now, we do have a 30 to 60 day window for review from legal team, and this is a very lengthy code section that's being updated. And then we have a 30-day public notice window for advertisement. So that's why that one got pushed back a little bit, just to make sure we're doing our complete due diligence with our attorneys and making sure it's legally advertised so we can move forward. And then as we discussed, phase 5, we are re-advertising. We're revamping it. Staff done some more research on other communities and other codes that we like. So we're gonna re-advertise that, and hopefully we get a larger range of applicants this time, because this past session, we only received 2 applicants on the RFQ that was put out. And that's all I have for the LMO updates. Any questions?
Colleagues?
And then we can go to the next item. I'll let you present.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Historic Neighborhood Permitting and Design Studio Report.
So on that one, we only got 1 new request this month, and it was preservation of an heirs property.
Okay, in the previous meetings, I know we probably still have that information about how many applications we have and how many are moving forward and.
Yes, sir. All that was in the packet. I don't have those numbers in front of me, unfortunately.
Oh, I got it right here. I think I see it. Okay. Other questions? Questions for Mr. Edwards on that item?
And like I said on that one, Alexis and Trey in our planning department will be taking over handling the historic neighborhood design studios as well. So those will be your point of contact types of requests.
Okay. Home and Safety Repair Program update. Is that the end of your time?
Nope, I have these as well.
You have these as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now you're Chris Yates.
I'm presenting for Chris Chase, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Currently, we have 24 projects are under contract. We had 10 new projects being prepared to be sent out for bidding, and we have 9 tree removal projects that are underway or completed. And the full data set is in your packet there for what's moving forward and what's in queue. And then the sewer connection program, we have 20 applications have received a town letter of approval. Work has not been scheduled yet on 2 projects. We're still working to get those scheduled. And 18 projects are underway or have been completed. And this month we did receive 1 new application as well.
If I may,
Yes, please.
on the sewer connection numbers that you have, are those persons that did not qualify for the deep well application? There's 2 different folks, am I right? Person go to the deep well, and if they don't meet the income qualifications at deep well, they didn't come to the town. Am I right?
I believe so, but I would need to verify that with Mr. Yates before giving a final answer, but I can verify with him and get you an answer via
I'm just
email.
curious to know whether or not these folks are fitting that first category, or whether or not they are those that have had to come through the second opportunity that's available.
All right, yes, sir, I'll get you those answers.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Sir, Mr. Hintz.
Yeah, just a matter of point, on the Historic Neighborhood Permitting and Design Studio report, you have the time frame that's involved here, October 2021 through August of 2023. If you could do the same with the home safety and repair program and the sewer connection program, so we get an idea of the scope of how fast these numbers are coming in. Just add the start date.
Okay.
And let me pause right here. I do want to recognize the presence of our council members, Ms. Bryson and Mr. Brown. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Representing here. And if anyone in the public has a question or a comment on any of these items we just went through, I would allow that right now.
Just want to make a comment regarding the heirs property issue that came in this month. I was part of that meeting, and Low Country Gullah has taken over the responsibility in working with that family to unravel whatever the issues are.
Okay.
Let you know that it's being taken care of.
Great, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, please. And if you give us your name and.
Hi, I'm Susan Wheatley, and I actually reside at 178 Mitchellville Road. And this is actually in regards to the FAR and parking comment that I'm glad to hear is going to be a little more research done. I am a realtor, and I serve on the legislative committee there as the co-chair. This came to our attention, and honestly, personally, since I live in a historic Gullah Geechee community, in fact, we consider it a privilege and an honor to live there, and in one of the most diverse communities here on the island. I really feel like that this committee needs to keep their eyes and ears open, because if there's one thing we don't want is any discrimination toward the owners of land that the families have had in their family for so many years. I want you guys to keep that on your radar, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, next on our agenda are discussion items. This is land preservation, Low Country Gullah. This is Luana Graves Sellers. Has a presentation for us with some information.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Before I start with the land preservation numbers, I just want to give you an update on the tax sale. It is coming up this October 2nd, this next couple of weeks. As of July, we had about 49 properties that are on the island that still had not paid their taxes. That list is to about half. We are monitoring the list on a weekly basis to make sure that everyone is taken care of. There have been some properties on the island that have requested assistance, so we've also taken care of that. So just to give you an update on where we are with the tax sale, and at your next meeting, I will give you an update as a summary of, where we were, what happened. But today, I'd like to go through some of the, this is just going to give me some of the land numbers that some of the land numbers that we've been able to work on and solidify. I will tell you this before I start. These are estimated numbers. It's not a perfect science. We're going property by property, name by name. So, as things change and people get married and names change, so it's not an exact science. But this is as close of a good estimation that I can show you. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the historic Gullah neighborhood map. These are all the different communities around the island. And so in talking about the island-wide land loss, if you go all the way back to the RUDAT study in 1995, it estimated that 3,500 acres overall were owned by Gullah land owners. And so when the first count that this task force did in 2017, based on that, it shows a decrease of 736 acres. Currently, the neighborhood estimate for the town is at 2,700 acres, and essentially attributing the change in the neighborhood acreage based on property purchases that came out of those neighborhoods. So that's why the neighborhoods have probably shrunk. So today's count is at, in total, 958 acres. which is a decrease of 1,800 acres based on the total that we're looking at today. So here's the same map that I showed you in the beginning, and this is based on 2017. I was trying to get updated land per neighborhood map, but this has been some fast and dirty numbers, so I will be able to show you comparison slides next month. But this just gives you a good idea of the size of the neighborhood versus in the pink, the overlaid pink are the parcels that were still Gullah owned in 2017. And of course, that is down since then. So neighborhood by neighborhood, as I mentioned, overall, the estimated acreage that is owned by the Gullah in 2017 was a little over 1,000 acres. And right now we're at that 955 acres, 958, which is a loss of 55 acres over the last 5 years. And so just to give you a more zoomed in effect, and I'm going to go through these quickly because there are several of them, but this is the gridded area of each of these neighborhoods is where the land is still owned by Gullah families. So this is Baygal, Big Hill, Big Stony, Chaplin, Gardner, Grassland, Jarvis, Jonesville, Little Stony, Marshland, Mitchellville, Old House Creek, Spanish Wells, and Squire Pope. So image-wise, you can kind of see the differences neighborhood by neighborhood that I'm referring to. So based on the numbers today, comparing from 2017 to this year, 10 out of the 13 neighborhoods are down in their planned ownership. The communities have the largest amount of losses, or the biggest acreage losses, is Mitchellville, which is down about 27 acres, Baygal at 10, Marshland at 6, and Big Stony at 5. And so if you look at the chart, from 2017 to 2021, Big Stony and Jonesville did have an increase from 2017 to 2021, but then back to a decrease from 21 to 23. And so if you look at the difference year to year, that's why those particular communities have two numbers. So you can see the increase or decrease, per community. That's all I have on the land numbers. I'm going to talk about the workshops in a second, but I wanted to see if anybody had any questions. Yeah.
Point out which one of these neighborhoods are in opportunity zones? So the audience can-
I can go back. The opportunity zone is primarily the Baygal, going up into Mitchellville. I don't want to go too fast. So from Baygal to Mitchellville is primarily that area. And essentially from the water in Baygal up to around Marshland Road, not Marshland Road. Over into that the circle over there. So those are primarily the neighborhoods and portions of Grassland which I'll show you that one as well.
That's why there's a big decrease in people selling, is because of that.
Especially in the Baygal area, if you look at it, that center in the center, that largest piece where you can see the water and the community, I mean, that is the largest portion of the land that has essentially gone away within the last few years. And of course, that was Opportunity Zone activity.
Yeah, how were the neighborhood areas delineated? How did we know what?
When? From the beginning? Well, primarily the historic neighborhoods were based on all of Ward 1. So all of the neighborhoods within Ward 1, originally, obviously, there have been changes lately, but those communities were what were made up of the neighborhood, the historic neighborhoods as far back as 1995 during the Root Act.
The area was determined based on the Native Islanders who owned the property, so they captured all the property owned by the Native Islanders, and that was that neighborhood?
I don't know if there was a count back in, well, there was a count back in the RUDAT at 95. How they did it and how they broke it up, I don't know. Within the report, it just gives a overall number of the 3,500.
Okay, Mr. Malik?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Did you want to go? No. Was there any indication on the losses as to whether or not it was voluntarily sold or maybe forfeited through tax sale? Was there any of that information available to you?
That's hard to find because obviously it's property by property. Since the work that I've been doing, I am in the process of tracking that. Thus far, we really haven't had any losses to the tax sale over the past couple of years that we're aware of. But again, it's not an exact science. The lists that we're getting from the county are created based on best estimates. So it is entirely possible that someone could be falling through the cracks. We're trying to make sure that doesn't happen, but it's not a perfect science.
Okay, and I guess the other question I have is, I know that the town of Hilton is a large owner of previously owned Gullah lands. Of that 1,800 acres that you indicated that we lost, that's the second count, can you tell me how much of that land the town now owns?
I don't have that number.
Can anyone tell me that number?
I can get you that number
Okay.
For the next meeting.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure, absolutely. And one thing I do want to say about the tax list, for the past several years, both the town and Low Country Gullah Foundation has been getting the tax list from the county voluntarily. We requested, it was just a natural process of our relationship. Lately, there have been other requests from other organizations, so they've changed their policies. It is now something that's based on a FOIA request, which I have made to the county. It has slowed down the process, so the lists that I have are not as up to date. For instance, in September, I'm usually getting a weekly list so that I can track where we are between now and the sale at the beginning of October. That information is not current anymore. So it is something that I am actively working on and hoping to resolve. I do have the promise of Maria Walls that things should not slow down, but we're in the middle of that conversation to make sure that the information flows as smoothly as it had before. So the town has not gotten any updated lists, and neither have I. So just want to keep you, informed of that.
Property goes up for tax sale. If a property goes up for tax sale, do you have a way of tracking how much that property went for, like the bid amount?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the information that through the county we're receiving. So
Okay.
we're getting the property ID, the owner's name, the address, and the amount that the bid will go for. And I understand why the county is doing what they're doing, because there are obviously people who are preying on the lists, and have malicious intents. So being careful with the information, I totally get it. But like I said, it's a procedure and a process that we're working through to make sure that it can go back to being as smooth as it had been in the past.
Do you see a lot of people that are on that list? Are they, how you say, they don't live here?
Well, with the list, we have scrubbed it and massaged it down as best we could so that we are fully aware of who are Native Islanders versus, let's call them others. So when I get the list, it is a more specific to Gullah families. And that's why I'm saying it is possible that people could fall through the cracks because it's not a perfect science. We're working at it as best we can. But based on the neighborhoods and the maps that we have, that's how we are identifying who and where the properties are.
On that subject, maybe you can help me. Let's say a property goes up for tax sale. The family who wants to redeem that property has to pay that amount of that auction bid, or do they just pay what the tax amount was?
Depends on, excuse me, it depends on when they pay it. If they pay it before September, this year we have 29 days. If they pay it before September 29th, then it is the amount of the tax bill, plus, of course, interest. If it does go to the tax sale and the property is sold, they have to pay not only that, but interest on the amount of the property that, interest on top of the amount that the property sold for. So I'll give you a real world example. There was a property, the original taxes were $2,200. They let it go to the tax sale, which they thought would clear the title. We totally do not advise that this is done. It went to the tax sale, the property then sold for $90,000. Because of the interest, which is 3% for every quarter, by the end of the year, it's 12% on top of the original 2,200. So to redeem that property, it was closer to $6,000 within the first month just to get that property back. So it's just, if you don't have $2,000, in September, then obviously you're not going to have $6,000 or $12,000 or whatever the amount will be.
I guess the question I'm asking is, so if a person falls short, that's where your organization comes into aid, right?
Yes.
So if in fact the county has the amount of money that was auctioned for the property in escrow for a year and a day, right? And the homeowner and yourselves can come up with enough money to pay the taxes and the interest, shouldn't there be some way that they can reduce the expense to that homeowner or that landowner for the mere fact that the money that was put in escrow by the bidder is still in the treasury with the county? Yes?
Yes.
So if I come with the difference, I pay my tax and I pay the interest, satisfy what the county needs, the rest of that money can be refunded back to that person who bid it on that property, should it not? Rather than me having to come up with $90,000 to get the property back. Because it's like,
Well,
No, it's not 90.
Go ahead, Tawana.
Well, you don't have to pay the $90,000. You just have to make sure you pay the taxes plus the interest.
okay. All right. Okay,
in order to redeem it.
okay, all right. And then the county just simply refunds that bidder his money.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Plus the interest, right. Right.
Now, let me ask you another question.
Sure.
And I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but Teresa White was doing some tremendous work with this effort on the mainland. Do we have any kind of relationship with her? Because I know that she's a valuable resource of information. And I know that there may have been some friction somewhere in that past. But is there any type of relationship between what we're doing here and what Teresa's doing there in the county?
Teresa originally was working in South Carolina and covering a great deal of the state. In the last year or so, she has moved what she is doing to Chatham County in Georgia. So she is no longer
Okay.
working any
So
properties
the answer is no
here.
then. The answer is
Right.
no. Okay,
Right, so right now, I'm the only game in town that is operating at the scale that I'm operating at.
thank you.
Yeah, Teresa, of course, was a member of the task force when we first formed the task force, and it had some valuable experience and information in this type of work. But at some point, I do know that she said that she was only, I think at that time, dealing with properties north of the Broad, or
Initially, yes, when I started, that was part of the rationale for covering Hilton Head, because she was primarily north of the Broad, and we were focusing on south of the Broad.
other questions.
Okay.
Anyone in the public have a question? Oh, I'm sorry, Andre. Please, please approach. Andre, right?
I just wanted to address Mr. Henn's comment.
Yeah, this is for the record. Just go ahead and give us your name.
Oh, Andre White, 282 Beat City Road. I just want to address Mr. Henn's comments about when the neighborhoods were established. I mean, the neighborhoods were established when our family settled after the Civil War, actually some during the Civil War, and then the others after the Civil War. So we've officially been landowners, I think, since about 1865. So these are all the areas where families were, before and after the bridge was built. So the RUDAT report kind of just was a report, but folks have been in these neighborhoods for generations. Like that.
Thank you.
And just to wrap everything up for you, just wanted to follow up with the different workshops that have been going on. We did have a workshop in September with Maria Walls. It was very well attended, and a lot of people were able to get some good. I'm sorry, that says September. It should say August.
August, yeah.
Got a lot of good questions answered. And so our next workshop is in October, and that one will be at Penn Center. Now, I also do want to make you aware of the fact that if you're not aware, the assessments are coming out, and the assessments will show probably some significant increases in properties. So we are trying to make sure that not only people are aware, but that you can submit a appeal to have yours adjusted, but it's a short window of time. So during the workshop that we're having, in addition to Maria Walls coming back out to talk to people, we're including the Center for Heirs Property as well as Ebony Sanders, the assessor, so people can get direct questions answered regarding that. Because the window of times, essentially the clock starts in January when you can put in an appeal. So with that all being said, if no one has any other questions, I thank you for your time. Yeah.
Obviously, this workshop is centered around taxes. I know at one point there was also one that included
Yes, yes, we will be having another Wills Clinic, One Hilton Head, in November. I'm waiting for the date. It will be in partnership with Low Country Legal Volunteers.
Now, the same person that's going to do the will workshop, could you see if they will talk about trust too?
We can include that.
Yeah.
We can include that. But the difference between the Wills Clinic is that people walk in the door without a will, they walk out with a will. So it is not a forum kind of situation. But as far as doing, a trust or an LLC, that kind of thing, we can incorporate those kind of options into the workshop.
Okay.
Other questions? Thank you, Ms. Sellers.
You're welcome.
Your good work, and we appreciate you being in there and in the gap and doing what you can to help with preservation.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, the next item we have on our agenda is the Hilton Head High School renovation design team. I believe are here.
Thank you for the opportunity to show you some images for the redesign of Hilton Head High School. My name is Don Voss. I'm an architect with Little. Joining me is Aaron Stevens with Circulus Landscape Design, Sydney Kirshen, Interior Design, and Grace Balicki, Project Coordinator with us. So early in the design for this project, the community, school district to school made it clear to us that they wanted this building to incorporate not only the community, but also the history and culture of Hilton Head Island in what we ultimately design. So what we want to do is to show you some of those inspirations that we referenced throughout the design process, but also how those elements have been presented in the design. Obviously, the landscape was very important. This, and that's where the color palettes derive themselves from. This is the exterior of the high school as rebuilt. You can see the Performing Arts Center it's remained, so it's in the distance there. But the exterior has really been inspired by sort of that vista of water to sky that you see over the marshes or the ocean. So those are metal panels on that facade, and they go from a gray at the bottom and dissipate to a sky blue at the top to sort of relate to that image that you see all over Hilton Head. In addition, the plantings on the front.
I'm going to flip back because you can see them better here, but we're using kind of the form of the building to create. These are bioswales, so they're stormwater features. They're going to be accepting runoff from the roof and then be planted with native plants from the island so that the native plants can help improve the stormwater quality, infiltrate the water, reduce the rates of runoff, but also provide an education opportunity about the hydraulic systems happening here and also the plants that are really important to the endemic ecology here. So here you can see a rendering of the interior. This is right when you walk in the front door of the school. So what we tried to do here is incorporate some natural elements. The terrazzo flooring throughout is going to have oyster shells incorporated into it. We've also designed kind of a map of the Port Royal Sound into the flooring as well. So you'll get to kind of have that sense of place when you walk in the front door. Throughout the building, we've also included areas to highlight student artists as well as local artists. And then you'll see kind of the ceiling structure there is wood that'll kind of bring in some warmth, obviously, but then highlight that regional material quality. And so these are collaboration zones that we've designed throughout the academic wing of the school, kind of touchdown spaces for students to do private study or group work. And those are going to incorporate some funky carpeting that has kind of inspired by the quilts and textiles of the Gullah heritage. The graphics in the back, we've got allude to local and regional ecosystems, and then again, more feature walls to highlight student and local artists. Here's another rendering of the media center. Here we're incorporating some circular light fixtures, which are more of the Native American cultural side of things, with the shell rings that we've seen throughout the area. The circulation desk, which is kind of hard to see in the rendering, but we've incorporated some countertops that have recycled glass bottles in that blue color that kind of nod to the bottle trees that you see throughout Hilton Head. And then again, we've got glazing throughout the school and windows everywhere that promote that connection to nature for students throughout the day. And we also have a light fixture that's kind of a 3D printed woven material that we've, it's inspired by the Gullah sweetgrass basket weaving.
Background through the glass, you see the trees we're going.
And these are just some more images for our inspiration for the landscape design. We are not as far along in our design and detailing as the architects. And so, you know, we hope to have the opportunity to hear from y'all on things that you would like to see, you know, different themes you would like us to pick up, especially in the interior courtyard. Is that the next slide? Yes. So there's a large courtyard where in the center there, where there's going to be several components that will offer opportunities for students to spend time outside, outdoor seating, engage with, again, you know, components of the natural ecosystem. But we'll be extending a lot of the color and material choices from the interior out so that it feels like, you know, an outdoor extension of the school. But, you know, because we aren't as far along here, would love, you know, any input from y'all on things you would love to see or not see, or, you know, how we can better represent something that's meaningful within this courtyard.
It's a multi-phase project, so the courtyard will be done in phases. That is really it. What we wanted to do is get any input. Again,
Great, I appreciate your work. You have questions?
Already have someone to paint the hawk?
no, not yet.
Ever thought about a Gullah artist doing that?
We haven't actually gotten far enough to really look at that part of it, but certainly we've talked about those things. Yeah.
Because, I mean, when I was in school, it was painted by Bill Pinkney, artist, covered up by somebody else. So.
Well, and if y'all have, you know, people that we should reach out to or engage with, we're certainly.
Cover that up.
We'll be surveying all the art that is in the building and working with the school and the district and community to save or otherwise record what's there.
He was an extremely famous person, and after I graduated, all he didn't know and covered it up. So, fellow artist or somebody in there.
Oh, I had no clue that it had.
Probably been a long time since you've been to high school, all right?
Very long time since I've been in high school, and I've been to other games, but yeah, I wanted to ask, I didn't see area where the gymnasium and everything was gonna be redone there. However, there was, from what I now understand, a very elegant oil painting of a hawk that Joe Pinckney did by hand. It took him any number of days, weeks, months, or years to do that. I'll finally hear that it's been covered over. That's really a tremendous cultural loss, if that is in fact, you know, I mean, it has happened. So,
Look at, is there any record or imagery of that movie?
has to be.
Has to be.
It has to be. I mean, that's sort of disappointing to hear.
Yes, you had a question?
Yeah, I think the renderings are very impressive. I really like them a lot. On this slide you have here. Dark tan is the new part, and I understand where the Performing Arts Center is. All the light tan, the sand colored, is that existing, or what? Is that a phase 2 or what?
Phase 2, there will be the north side of the courtyard will be essentially a new wing as well for CPE and cafeteria. And then everything to the west there will be fully renovated, which is the gym.
Vertical corridor connection here is kind of the cutoff of, this is the existing school. Right of that corridor is new.
And where the tan is now, is there anything there now?
There is this, everything, that's basically the academic wings of the building. That's the ninth and new part, it's where the 9th grade academy is right now. So there is all the classroom space that actually occupies that courtyard space all the way out towards the parking lot right now. We're building the first phase in front of it so that we can keep the students in the school the entire time and then move them so that they don't end up.
This helps give any reference, because I know seeing things drawn out is confusing sometimes. When, we're looking at new plan combined with old plan, but these trees right now that we're trying to save are at the edge of the existing building and the parking lot, if that gives you any kind of reference. That, to me, helps.
So the parking lot up front's going to be cut in half or more.
And some.
Questions? Certainly appreciate your work and giving us an opportunity to have some input, and what's the best way to do that? I assume we have your contact information. So if we do have some ideas, I'm not sure we have that today, but if we do, have a couple of ideas about incorporating maybe some artists who are of the culture.
Absolutely,
I think that's a great suggestion. Okay, great. Thank you. I find myself down at the end of our agenda. And before I close that, I do want to allow anyone that would like to. Yes, Mr. White. The presentation. We'll check with staff. Is that possible? Yeah. Okay.
And Luana's presentation as well?
Yes. Okay. Well, again, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to be here. And of course, I want to again recognize the work that Ms. Krishana did. And I know that we have quite a capable staff with Mr. Edwards and Nick Tay and the rest of the staff stepping up. So I appreciate you filling in the gaps so we can keep this important work going. And all those who gave input, and of course our Councilman Bryson Brown, thank you for being here. With that, I would entertain a motion. Sorry, you have something?
Before we entertain that motion to adjourn,
Sir.
I would like to, if I may, just mention the importance of the work that we're doing.
Yes, sir.
We had a chance to visit the Sapelo Island community on last Thursday. You know, Sapelo Island, as you know, is a native island community. They had a situation where there were 13 communities on that island originally. Those 13 communities have been reduced to 1. McIntosh County was in the process of trying to establish some ordinances that would have allowed for the developers to come in and change the whole footprint of the island. And it's a fight that they're going on, that they're involved with, which is kind of similar to the fight that we're in. So I want us to understand the importance of the work that we're doing, but also the fact that what we're doing here also can be a model that assists in other communities that are struggling against, what they have versus what other folks want. I want to make that recognition.
But thank you for pointing that out. And we did have an opportunity several weeks ago, and a few months back, to meet with those folks from Sapelo. We've also been in touch with some folks from Charleston as well. And I have to certainly give ourselves a little pat on the back here in Hilton Head by starting this cultural preservation effort. To your point exactly, we are hoping that this is something we can share with other communities throughout the corridor, if you will, up and down the Gullah Geechee corridor. So you're absolutely right. The work that we are doing here is very important, and it can be modeled and shared with other communities in efforts to preserve the culture.
Thank you so much.
And that's easier said than done, of course, not to be slighted or make light a little of the culture. When we talk about culture, we're obviously talking about people and displacement of people and loss of culture, and talk about the sense of place. Most of us relate here in Hilton Head to golf and tennis and the beach. I'm happy that some of the work we've done now has gotten on the radar, and people know that there is a very rich history here. Work is very important. There are no other questions or comments. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We are adjourned.